All right, how about that?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. You guys have probably heard about NFTs, I'm sure. The way that they have kind of dominated the headlines in the past, few years, either for their spectacular valuations or for their great failures and rampant fraud. So today we're not going to talk about the financial aspect of NFTs. This is by no means any type of financial advice. If you want financial advice, please watch Jim Cramer. No, I'm just kidding. But let's talk about how to use WordPress to create an NFT minting site. And I'm conscious that not everyone is familiar with this new world of blockchain and Web3 and NFTs. So I'm going to dedicate a couple of slides to just give you a very brief introduction. This is my bio. Thank you, Steve, for reading it already. So let's skip that. This is a basic outline. Steve, how much time do I have?
I would say 20 minutes or so, and then Q&A.
Okay.
All
right, no problem. Sure. So, okay. So here's the outline. I'm going to give you an introduction for those of you that still either confused or perplexed or skeptical about this whole thing. A little bit of the terminology, which I'm going to use throughout the presentation. We're going to talk specifically about the Solana blockchain. So everyone is probably very familiar with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a blockchain. It's the first blockchain ever. But it only has one purpose, which is a digital currency. Then it came Ethereum, which is the second most popular blockchain, which allows us to do something called smart contracts. We're going to talk about smart contracts. This talk specifically is about the Solana blockchain, which is a different blockchain than Bitcoin or Ethereum. All right. We'll talk about the tools, and then how to create a candy machine, which is basically the script that's going to allow us to mint these NFTs. If this still sounds like Greek to you, just give me a couple of minutes and we go over some of these concepts together. And finally, how to integrate that into WordPress and why. Why would you? There has to be a reason, right? So we don't do things just because it's cool. Or maybe we do. Sometimes we do things because they're cool. But let's discuss why we even want to use WordPress to do this. Okay, so what is an NFT? Does anyone in the Meetup right now owns an NFT? You can. I believe that you have reactions, or you can type on the chat. Do we have any NFT holders in the meeting? All right, good. So you're gonna learn a lot tonight. If you haven't heard about NFTs, or you heard about them but you're curious and you want to own one. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. It became a media sensation after a very famous 3D artist called Beeple sold his NFT for $60 million. $69 million in a Christie's auction. If you know anything about the art world, Christie's is one of the second largest art auction houses, along with Sotheby's. So this stuff was serious. Now NFTs are nothing new. NFTs have been around since 2014, but they just kind of exploded about a year ago, in part due to the pandemic and the fact that everyone was at home bored out of their minds and were thinking of doing something. So NFTs can be collectibles. So they could be digital collectibles. So if you ever collected comic books, baseball cards, stickers, I'm from South America. Those every 4 years with the World Cup, the World Cup album, sticker album. That's the people collect those. So if you ever collected anything, you know that those collectibles can gain value based on scarcity, based on demand, based on origin, right? Sometimes you get the exclusive sticker, right? That only, let's say, 10 people in the world have. So that one has more value. So if you ever collected anything, this should make a lot of sense to you, because this is just the equivalent in digital form. Now, what else can you do with NFTs? NFTs can also deliver value over time. And this is where you have the smart contracts. So smart contracts actually code that it gets executed automatically in the blockchain. So if you collect an NFT, you can have access to other perks or other NFT collections, or maybe you have exclusive access to parties, dinners, concerts, right? So what a lot of these NFT collections offer you is all value over time. So if you heard of things like the Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks, those things have become brands of their own, right? So these NFT collections that have become brands, actual companies of their own. So NFT can be traded, exchanged, and even burned. So if you want, you can burn your NFT. You can destroy it. But what is an NFT? So an NFT is a record in the blockchain that says that you own a digital asset. Now the NFT is connected to a server, a hosting server, or some sort of storage server where that asset lives. And that asset could be a song, could be a movie, could be a JPEG, could be a GIF. So what that NFT is giving you is proof of ownership. Okay. So a lot of people will say, well, I could just take a picture of your NFT and now it's mine. No, it's not. Right. I can, I can take a picture of a Ferrari parked outside my apartment. If someone owns a Ferrari in my neighborhood, I guess I'm in the wrong neighborhood. That doesn't make it mine, right? I can take a picture of it. I can go to the Met and take a picture of a Matisse. That doesn't make it mine. So there is a record of ownership, an immutable record of ownership that is linked to that specific asset that said is yours. So that's where the value of NFTs come from. Most of the things that we heard about regarding NFTs is around these collections that seem silly. There seems to be a recurring theme around apes and monkeys and things of that sort. So that's kind of what we know about NFTs. But NFTs can be way more than this. There's a lot of industry applications that definitely we're going to hear more about. So terminology. So we know that NFT is a non-fungible token. Minting. So minting is when you are able to create the first record of ownership in the blockchain. So you're the first person that owns that NFT. In order for us to perform these transactions, we need a wallet. Okay, so we need a crypto wallet. These crypto wallets are anonymous, so you can have as many as you want. The NFT is registered to your wallet. A hot wallet is a digital wallet that is used to hold transaction of tokens in the blockchain. So if you want to buy NFTs, the first thing that you need to get is a wallet. Phantom is a very popular Solana crypto wallet. It has an NFT feature enabled. So if you buy NFTs using Phantom, you can actually access your NFTs through your wallet, which is pretty cool. They also have a iOS app, and they also have a Android app. Solana is the blockchain that I particularly use, that I have experience with. I don't have experience with Ethereum. We're going to talk why I've chosen Solana for minting NFTs. Candy Machine is the JavaScript framework that will allow us to mint NFTs. So it's just a JavaScript file that can connect to the Solana network, and it allows us to create those records in the Solana blockchain. A CLI, if you're a developer, you already know what a CLI is. It's a command line interface. That's what we use to basically create that connection between the Candy Machine and the Solana blockchain. Now, gas. Gas is a term that is used to describe the fees that are charged by the network. So the whole point of a blockchain is that it's a public ledger of transactions. So if you have a bank account, you have a ledger of transactions of your account, but that ledger is not public. That ledger is owned by your bank. In a blockchain, that ledger is public. So anyone can see all the transactions in that blockchain. In order to confirm those transactions, you need to have people with computers that are running algorithms that are confirming that those transactions are actually happening and that there's no funny business going on. Those people are using their computers and are using electricity and are using their hardware to perform these transactions. So they're actually using resources. As a reward for those people, they get something called gas, and they get that in the form of crypto payments. So they basically validate the transaction. So when you pay for gas, you basically paying those people in the blockchain who are validating your transaction, who are making sure that your transaction is legit, that it was done in the correct way, in the correct protocols, and is finally part of the blockchain. So if you have heard about Ethereum, you know that the gas fees in Ethereum are incredibly high. And that's why Solana has become a very popular blockchain in the NFT world lately, because their fees are incredibly low. So the first time I bought an NFT, the value of that NFT was 1 cent. But I had to pay almost $60 in gas fees just so I could take ownership of that NFT. Okay, and those gas fees vary, right? So Solana has a very convenient way of verifying the transactions, which allows us to have very low gas fees. Another thing you might heard is generative art, and that is art generated by a script. So you can create a collection of images and then run them through a script, and that will return back a series of images. It could be on JPEG form, in PNG form, in GIF form, that you can then later use as an NFT collection. Now, where are these NFTs living? So we know that the NFT itself, the token, lives in the blockchain, but is linked to a digital asset, which could be an image, a song, an audio file, a video file, that lives in something called permanent storage. So there are now services that allow you to store something in the blockchain. What is the difference between that and, let's say, hosting an image on a hosting provider like Bluehost or SiteGround? That hosting account can disappear anytime, and everything with it. With this permanent storage solutions, the file is stored in the blockchain, so is there forever. So your NFT will always have something to link to. Okay, so that's the terminology. Now let's talk about Solana. So it's a very popular blockchain. This gets a little technical. I don't want to, spend a lot of time on this part, but it uses a very innovative way of validating transactions, which is called proof of history, which allows for very low gas fees. We're talking fractions of a penny. Solana can support up to 65,000 transactions per second. The Solana ecosystem is gaining a lot of ground from Ethereum, and Solana NFT marketplaces, which are places or usually often referred to as secondary markets, where you can then list your NFT. So once you mint your NFT, you're the first owner of that NFT. If you want to sell it later, you can, and you can list it in one of those marketplaces. So it's like an eBay, for example, when people can bid for your NFT. They can buy it outright. They can reserve it. So one of the most popular marketplaces in Solana is called Magic Eden. Okay. Now, so what do we need in order to mint NFTs? But first, why do we even need to mint NFTs? Usually this is something that is done by artists, uh, people that probably already have a history of creating digital art and are looking for a way to make money and capitalize on their name and reputation and create these collections, right? So there's very prominent 3D artists and urban artists and graphic designers and but also music bands. Music bands have used NFTs to sell exclusive access to particular albums or songs. One of them was Kings of Leon. Other bands have done it, but Kings of Leon was like the first band, like mainstream band that used an NFT launch for one of their albums. So we need something called the Solana CLI, which you have to install on your computer, on your system using npm. We need something called Metaplex, which is a framework specifically for Solana that allows us to connect to the network and host the NFTs, the images in permanent storage. And we need to use Candy Machine, which is what's going to allow us to mint the NFTs. So one thing is creating the collection. You can create a collection and then leave it there. But then you need a way that people can then come and start minting those NFTs, obviously for a price. We need the image files. So we also need the JPEGs, PNGs, whatever it is. And then we need to generate JSON metadata for each NFT. So each NFT, if you have an image 01.jpg, you're also going to have a JSON file called 01.json. They go hand in hand. You need that in order to mint the NFTs. So before we start, this is what you need. You need a collection. Okay. So I've seen a lot of artists, people that perhaps paint or draw or do engravings that have asked me, I want to make my art an NFT. Say, okay, cool, you can, that's fine. But who's gonna buy it? Who will want your NFT? So usually, if you want to get into NFTs, if you know an artist and you want to encourage that artist to launch a collection, you want a collection. You want hundreds of these things because you want to create a market for it. You can't create a market with one thing. You want to create a market with hundreds of these. And you also need a marketing plan. So this is not a one-man show. You need a team. So if you look at some of these famous NFT collections, there's a whole team behind these things. There are developers, there are marketers, there are graphic designers, there are community managers, there's social media influencers. These things are entire enterprises. Okay. So in Solana, we're talking about Solana. You need something called a configure candy machine. So you need to configure your candy machine. How is it that people are going to be able to mint those NFTs after you put them in the blockchain? You need a crypto wallet. That's the only way that we can interact with the blockchain. Now, crypto wallets can be in the form of apps, or they can also be in the form of browser extensions, specifically Chrome. Chrome has a huge ecosystem of extensions. If you want to install a Chrome wallet, for Ethereum, one of the most famous ones is called MetaMask. For Solana, it's called Phantom. And you need a WordPress site. But we're dealing with a lot of code here. We're dealing with a lot of custom code here, a lot of packages. We're going to go over this in a minute. So we need a way that we can actually push from your local environment to a production environment. So this is not something that we could do through the CMS. We're going to have to develop a custom block. So there's a lot of JavaScript, JSON, PHP code that we have to make. And we're going to need to use a repository, and we're going to have some sort of deployment pipeline. Okay? Because every time you make a change to the candy machine, you have to redeploy. So how do you create a collection? You need the art. You create the files. You can actually have a script create the files for you, create the variations. The whole point of a collection is that you have generic variations, and then you have very rare variations, right? Remember, the whole point of an NFT collection is that you create exclusivity and demand. So you might have, let's say you launch a collection of 600 NFTs. You want to have, let's say, hundreds of those NFTs are super rare, have very rare features. And then the other ones are just generic. So those 100 NFTs are probably going to have more value. They're probably going to be more desirable to the collectors. Then we need to upload those files to a permanent hosting solution. A very popular one is called Arweave, and that's when we use the Metaplex framework to host those in Arweave. Now, this has a cost. This is not free. But with Solana, the cost is very low. So if you want to host a collection of 10,000 NFTs, the cost could be anything from $3 to $5. Now, in Ethereum, if you want to do this with Ethereum, we're probably talking thousands and thousands of dollars. Choose to host the files. Right? So now you can see why Solana, and this, Solana is not perfect. If you know anything about this world of blockchains, it has its issues and it's controversial in some ways. But that's why it has attracted a lot of these new NFT artists because of the low fees. Now, this is what you get with Candy Machine. So once you configure the Candy Machine, you can run a React app that will give you this UI. Once you run this, you can connect to the blockchain using your Phantom wallet. And if you allow, because sometimes you need to be whitelisted, sometimes you need to be invited, then you can mint an NFT. The thing with minting NFTs, you don't know what you're gonna get. That's the fun part. It's like those egg toys that look like an egg, and then you open it and you don't know what toy you're gonna get. You might choose a generic NFT, or you might get the super exclusive NFT. Usually, this is called a drop, an NFT drop. They build a hype. They create a community around the collection. This could take months, and then they set a date. Sometimes most NFT collections set a whitelist. So in order for you to make it to the first batch of people who can actually mint, you have to participate in the community. You have to promote the project. It's a lot of fun. I've been doing it for a few months now. It's just very time consuming. I wish I had more time to be part of these amazing communities, but so far I've been able to actually mint 2 times out of maybe dozens of projects that I try to join. So it's not easy. It's not easy to make it to that exclusive list of first minters. Once you generate this UI, you need to reconfigure Webpack. So we need to bring this into a custom WordPress block. If you're familiar with block development, this is going to make a lot of sense to you. But we need a way to bring all of this into WordPress. Right now, this UI is a static file. Basically, it's a React application. So we need to reconfigure Webpack to generate one JavaScript file. All we need is a bundle.js file. Once you reconfigure it, then you can eject the React app and get the file. Then you can go to your WordPress site, create a custom block scaffold, so you can create all the files for your block, your custom block. You enqueue that file, that bundle.js file, into your block PHP file. You can restyle it with CSS, right? And then you can choose upload it to your plugins folder in your WordPress and activate it. And now you have that block available in your WordPress. Now, the way you control how this Candy Machine works is through the config.js file, config.json file. So if you must change how this works, how this candy machine minting script works, you will need to generate another set of files. And that's why you're probably going to need code access. Okay, so this is something that you're probably going to have to commit and then do a deploy and then commit in the production environment, right? I'm working on an actual blog that is more manual. So this is very code heavy. I want to create something that would allow you just to, add your wallet address, add your candy machine ID, set some checkboxes and fields, and then boom, you're done. But that's obviously going to require a little bit more work. Right now, this is very code heavy. This is for someone who has experience with development. So why do we want to do WordPress? If you ever looked at an NFT project page, they're mostly done with static site generators. So things like Gatsby, React, something React based usually. What is WordPress bringing to the table in this case? Better SEO. So we can take advantage of the WordPress SEO features to promote the website. The idea is that people want to find this collection and that they want to buy these NFTs. You have the full power of WordPress. You can create pages, you can manage users, run a blog from your minting site. Usually mint sites are one-page sites, but I've seen some NFT minting sites that are multi-page. You can use marketing. You can integrate this with something like Hotspot, content, customer relationship management, and you have the full power of the Gutenberg. So you can really create pages and designs very easily without very little code. So once you do that initial setup, you kind of use the power of WordPress CMS to do the rest. If you ever develop pages with blogs, or that blogs are fast, unlike the usual site builders like Elementor, Divi, blogs tend to be faster in terms of performance. So you get advantage of all of that. Now there are some plugins out there. So if you want to kind of do this the no code way, there are some plugins. One of them is called NFT Maker. It allows you to mint, to store. There's something called lazy minting, which is you only mint when someone pays, when someone actually buys the NFT. So you can kind of showcase your NFTs without having to put them on the blockchain yet. And if someone wants to buy it, then you register in the blockchain and then you allow the mint. So it's I guess a cheaper way of doing it. You don't have to invest so much upfront. But we know with Solana, we're talking about very little money. There's plugins for WooCommerce integrations. There's an OpenSea WordPress plugin that allows you to show your NFTs, have a storefront, embed your NFTs. There's a platform called Credium, that also has WordPress integration. So there's some choices out there. Now, the reason why I got into this was because I started getting approached by artists that said, you're a web developer. Can you help me create an NFT collection? And I knew about NFTs, but I didn't know anything about how to create an NFT collection, how to create a minting site. And I love WordPress, so I figured, well, why not put one and two together? There are other people have done it too. So I always kind of want to offer WordPress as an option for any project. I want to put that on the table first. Right now, there's definitely a trend for people to go the static site generator route, but I feel that lacks other things that WordPress does very well. So it has worked quite well. I helped two artists to launch their NFT collections. One of them actually put a hold on launching their collection because of the turbulence in the crypto markets. So you have to be careful with the economics as well. Well, that's it. Thank you. You can follow me on Twitter. You can look at my NFT collection on Magic Eden, or you can find me on LinkedIn. So this was a very quick overview, not very technical, even though I threw some pretty new terms at you, but I hope that you find this interesting. Um, by no means I'm encouraging people to buy NFTs or invest on NFTs. That's not what this is about. So if you want to look at some of the NFT markets like Magic Eden or OpenSea, it's a lot of fun, and the communities are actually um, very welcoming, and it's just a lot of fun to be part of the communities.
Great, Michael. Great
Yeah,
job.
thank you.
So yeah, we have a question. So actually, I think you did a great job. You explained it differently than I've read before, and I think a lot of other people. So actually, Diane Lee's asking a great question. So you're essentially creating an online art gallery in your WordPress site. Is that a fair comparison?
I mean, you could have a showcase of the NFTs, but what this is a minting site. So basically, you're allowing people to grab an NFT, a random NFT from the blockchain, with the hopes that they can start a collection of their own. So, for example, I have two collections of NFT. I follow two collections of NFTs, and I collect those NFTs anytime that I find a good deal on them. I was able to mint them, so I'm what they call an OG. I was one of the first holders of those NFTs in that particular collection. So now that I have my own collection of NFTs, I could create my own gallery of NFTs on WordPress.
What's the benefit of being a minter?
You get to own it first. So usually there is a floor price. So let's say there's a very desirable collection, and you get to mint. So let's say you pay 1 Solana for an NFT. Solana right now costs almost like $53. So let's say you pay 1 Solana for that NFT, and you get one of the really rare ones. You could potentially flip that NFT for a higher price. You could flip it for, let's say, 5 Solana and make a profit out of it. Now, I'm not into NFTs for financial gain. I'm into NFTs because I love the art, and I love being part of the community. So there's actually a Discord server for all these collections. And the collections that I was able to be a member of is actually deliver value over time. They keep giving me more stuff just for being a holder of the NFT. So they give me access to other NFT collections. They allow me to play games. They allow me to get a file that I can actually 3D print. So that's a lot of fun. Now you can actually print your NFT if you have a 3D printer. If you want to, there's many places online where you can actually print 3D print stuff, and they will mail it back to you. So it's a lot of fun. I was actually able to flip a couple of NFTs, but I do it for the love of the art.
Great, awesome. So, Nelson's asking, would this replace the process that needs to be done through a marketplace, through a market like Magic Eden or OpenSea?
So these marketplaces offer you a minting option. In this case, you paying them a fee to do the minting. So if you do it yourself, then you don't pay anyone. You're paying the blockchain directly.
Great, Nelson. Let me know if that answered your question. Zuli asks, can you make the NFT secure? She's heard of stealing NFTs on computers and having it on WordPress. How do you make sure it's secure from hackers? Also, in New York, she can't download MetaMask. Is that a New York State thing? I don't know if that's true, but go ahead.
Yeah. So if they steal your NFT, it's not because they stole it directly from the blockchain, because that's almost impossible. If they stole it, it's because there was an actual phishing campaign. They tricked you into giving them your wallet address and into approving the transaction. Usually that's what happens. So it's more of social engineering hack rather than a hack of the blockchain. Um, so remember the huge Target hack? Um, they didn't hack the credit card. What they did is they hacked the terminals. So they were actually intercepting the transaction. So that's what kind of happens with NFTs. And yes, there's a lot of fraud. Yes, there is a lot of malfeasance, and there's a lot of bad actors in this NFT space. So please do be very careful. Never. You're not gonna give your credit card number to a stranger on the street. Well, some people might actually do that, but you want to be very careful who you give your wallet address and who you do transactions with. Um, just like anything, there's a risk, and it's still very new, and people do taking advantage of. So just be careful.
Great. I'm just waiting to hear if Nelson's question was answered. Anyone else have any questions for Michael? Honestly, this was one of the better educations I've gotten on NFTs. This was a great presentation. So Nelson's asking, thank you. So this is basically building my own marketplace. Is that correct? My collection won't live on Magic Eden or OpenSea, but on my own site.
You could create your own marketplace as well. With this particular thing that I showed you tonight, that was just the main thing. So if you want to create your marketplace, that there's probably another library that would allow you to do that. Some of these plugins that I show at the end allow you to do that. But the problem is the advantage of using a marketplace like Magic Eden or OpenSea is they're incredibly popular already. So the chances of you succeeding and actually selling your NFTs on your own are going to be very low unless you have a lot of resources and an entire marketing team. Because here's the thing. It's like when you go to a state fair and you see artists selling their local artists selling their art. How are people finding those artists? The only way you could find an artist is if you actually go to that state sale. But besides that, how are people gonna find your art? So Magic Eden and OpenSea solves that problem because they're secondary marketplaces. They already have a community. They're already established. They do marketing. They do paid ad campaigns. So you have a higher rate of succeeding in this secondary marketplaces than doing it on your own. Unless you want to do a private NFT collection, which I have done. I did one for the school where I teach. So that was only something where only the students were able to participate. So in that case, yeah, you don't need to pay them the fees. You just create your own marketplace. Yeah, MetaMask. I have MetaMask. I never had an issue with MetaMask, even though I don't use OpenSea or do any transactions on Ethereum anymore. The thing what you mean, I think what you mean is buying crypto, maybe. Yeah, because you still need to buy the crypto and then put it in the wallet. So the wallet alone is empty. You need to put money in it, just like your own wallet, right? Your own wallet could be empty. You need to put money in it, and you buy the crypto through one of those exchanges. And sometimes, for a long time, when I first started buying Bitcoin like 2 years ago, with Chase, for example, Chase would not allow me to buy Bitcoin directly from my bank account. So yeah, it can depend on state. Each state has different regulations.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Zuli, bringing it up. Does anyone else have any questions for Michael? And we're gonna post this on YouTube. So I mean, I was trying to take notes, but I decided I'll wait for the video. Anyone else have any questions for Michael? That's it. Going once. Oh, I think we got another one here.
All right. Thank you, everyone.